I'm HG, aka OHGAR. If you're here, it probably means you bought or are interested in my asset, OHGAR's basic models, and want to see how it works. Let's dive right in. Most of you probably already know how to do this first step, which is to import the package. So if you want to skip that part, go for it. But I'm going to show this just in case somebody doesn't know. Go to Window, Package Manager, and then if you've already purchased the package, it'll be in Assets. And then I don't have too many here, so it shows up, but you can also just type in OHGAR. There we go, right there. Here you can see all of the items in the package. Most of these are not mandatory for the package to work. They're just things I put in there to get you started. So I suggest the first time you use it, you keep everything here. And we're going to import. Okay, awesome. We've imported everything. And in the project tab, you can see we have the asset and all of its items. Let's go to the demo scene just to take a look. Good habit for any new asset. Here you can see what we got going on, and I'm going to go ahead and press play. This way we can see a demo of the animations. And then down here, we have the sprite map. This is what you're going to use to figure out what animations you want to make and what faces you want to include. Okay, let's stop this. And I'm going to go back to the sample scene here. The very first thing I'm going to do is drag in a prefab. So let's take this prefab here, pop it in. Already, the face is set up for you, minus any additional features you want to do. Let's take a look at the prefab that we just brought in. We have an armature, body, and face. The armature is just like any other armature. I'm going to Alt-click to open up the entire skeleton here. And you can see everything we've got, including fingers and all that. And if you want to just start posing the model, it is as simple as clicking on what you want to change. Let's go to mid-spine and I'm going to click E to rotate, and then I can just go ahead and start doing some rotations. Let's close the skeleton here and take a look at the body. On the body, you want to take a look at the skin mesh renderer and open up the materials. There are 24 elements here. Each represents one of these different materials. So let's take a look at how this works and the purpose of it. You could come over here, click on this, and just pick a material. But I don't really like to do it that way. I think it's much more intuitive to open up my materials, and let's just give him a black shirt. Okay, right now he's got a black tank top. Oh, now it's looking like a black crop top. Let's make it a little longer. Now we have a black short sleeve shirt. And now we have a black t-shirt. And if I really wanted to, we could go on and keep increasing the length of this shirt. Now we have a black long sleeve shirt. But you know what? I want to go, black t-shirt. From here, you just keep on going. Let's add some pants real quick. Going to put some denim jeans on here. This part is a little tedious. I know it is sort of just a consequence of how this system works. Okay, now we have a shirt and some pants. I'm going to make the shirt a little longer because I don't feel like having a belt. Now we have a little bit of a longer shirt. And you know what? Let's put some white socks down there on the ankles. And let's put black again for some shoes. Ideally, I would make some 3D shoes to go on top. But for now, just to have a quick start, there we go. We got some shoes. And then let's add some skin color here. I have a few skin tones prepared that you can use, or you can make your own. It's just a material, easy peasy. Let's zoom in a little bit here. All the way down to the fingers, and you know what? Let's put skin light for those fingernails. Okay, and one more black for the collar. Actually, let's do some skin tone for a bit of a looser fit. Okay, now that we've taken a look at the body and we've seen how we can quickly just get something going, let's take a look at the face. The face is also using materials on a skin mesh renderer. It is basically a transparent mesh that lets us use transparent materials for different parts of the face. I'm going to close this here and open up OBM face materials. Here we have brows, eyes, and mouths already prepared for you. But for practice, let's add a nose to this. And I've actually got something prepared so you can easily start. And it's right here. You can hardly see it, but there's some noses there. We need to make a material that uses this texture. Easy peasy. I'm going to go to my face materials folder, right click it, create material. I'm going to call this OBM matte nose. Of course, you can call it whatever you want. And right now it's just white. We want to make sure that we check alpha clipping. This will make sure that everything is transparent. Everything else can stay the same. You can change it if you like, but it can stay the same. The only other thing we need to do is to drag the texture into the base map. Okay, and now our material is prepared. I'm going to go back to the face, go back to the skin mesh renderer, grab that material we just made and pop it in. And you can already see we have a nose. Now, it's not the prettiest nose, but if we don't want to look at that, we could come back to our material and we can change the offset to, let's put negative 0.3 and 0.3. There we go. That's a more normal nose. Changing the offset here in the scene view in the editor is really only just for personal preference of how you want the material to look outside of the game. When we actually start the game, that's when faces are, let's say, real. I've designed this so that many characters can all share the same face materials, meaning I don't have to make an eyebrows material for every different character. All of my NPCs can share a generic set of materials, and then I can create unique materials for my main characters. But in order to allow that shareability, in the editor, anybody that shares a material is going to have that same face. But in runtime, when we play the game, the face can be whatever we want it to be. So now that our character has a nose, let's move on to how the face animation really works. If you scroll up on the inspector, you'll see the face controller. This is the core component of the face animation system. Right here we have, you see debug chords, one-shots, and loops. This is something you can toggle on or off if you want to see some data about what's happening in the console. Other than that, we have the initial face, which you can leave empty. You don't have to have that. And then we have a bunch of empty caches here. Features, faces, one-shots, loops, and groups. These are the different types of scriptable objects you will be using to make static faces and animated faces. Let's actually start by putting an initial face here to see what happens. Before I do that, I'm going to just press play. And the face is staying exactly how it was. Let's go back to the face. And I'm actually going to lock this in the inspector so I can stay in the scene and keep that right there where I want it. Initial face. This is the face that's going to be set on awake. So let's get a face for that field. I went ahead and closed some folders here to make things easier to see. And then we're going to go here to scriptable objects, faces, and I got a couple here. Let's just put happy. Okay, so now we have a happy face. Again, the face will not update in the editor. It will only update in runtime. I'm going to press play to see what that face looks like when it starts up. All right, there we go. We have a happy face. You may notice that the nose didn't change. I'll show you why right now. If I come over here to happy face and unlock my inspector, we can see what this scriptable object is made out of. It's made out of features. Right now I have 3. I have brows, eyes, and mouth. Well, let's add a nose feature. So I'm going to come over here to my project tab and open up features. Brows, eyes, mouths. Oh wait, I want to add a nose. I'm going to have to set that up. Right click on the folder, create a new folder. You don't have to create a new folder, but I'm going to. OEM, noses, call it whatever you want. And then I'm going to right click on it, create. All the way down here at the bottom, you have this box for basic models, and I'm going to click on feature. And how you name the features is very, very important. You can pretty much name it anything you want, but you need to have a number at the end. And I highly suggest you start with the number 0. So I'm going to put OBM nose 0. The reason why you need to have that number is I've set this coordinate index up to use that number so you don't have to go one by one and update it. If I try to change this number to 3 or 6 or anything, it just won't let me. It's always going to be set to that number in the name. Now we also have this slot for a material. Don't put anything in there yet. What we want to do is create a bunch of duplicates of these noses. I'm going to click on that and just Control D all the way until I get to 24. Now check it out over here. The coordinate index is 24. This one is 14. This one is 7. Everything is done for you as long as you remember to put that number. And if you don't put that number, you're going to have problems. So make sure you do it and start with 0. Now I'm going to click on 0 and shift click down to 24. And I need to give them all that same material. I'm going to lock the inspector. I'm going to go back to that material that I made earlier, the noses or the nose or whatever, and drag it into material. And that's it. My nose features are all set up. And now that we have some nose features that we can access, I am going to click back on the happy face that we're using, and I'm going to click plus. And right here on element 3, I'm going to click this little circle. You can drag and drop, but this way I can just type in what I want. I'm going to type nose, and you know what? I don't know what nose I want. So let me do something real quick. Let's go to the sprite map here and open this up. I can see it here. It's a little small. So let's do this. I can just double click it. I can get a big picture right in front of me. Which nose would I like to use? You know what? I'm kind of a fan of number 20. Let's just go with nose number 20. So I can close that or minimize it or whatever. Come back to my face scriptable object where I have that element 3. Click on it. I'm going to type in nose 20. And there it is right there. Down arrow, enter. And now that face will update with that nose. Remember, it's not going to change in the editor. But if I press play, bada bing, my nose is updated in runtime for that start face. The initial face is really good just for quickly having a default state for your character and a really easy reference for you to access whenever you want to always go back to a certain feature or a certain face, that default face. If you want to have more options though that you can easily get at, you can go ahead and fill in these arrays. The one thing is you don't want to overload them. Unity does not like you having more than, I think it's like 516, I think, objects in an array. So you can easily put way more than that in features. The rest of them you probably won't have a problem with, but features can get out of hand really quick. Now that you've seen how to create features and add them to faces and add a start face to your game, let's write a little bit of code to maybe change that face in game or maybe get an animation going. I'm going to just come here to add component, and there, as you can see right here, animation demo, that is a script that already exists. You don't have to write anything. That will show you a little demonstration of how you can use the code. But let's start with something really simple, just in case you're not familiar with reading code and seeing how to interface with that code. So I'm going to just call this, let's just call this example, new script, create and add. And then I'm going to come in here, oops, let it load. Okay, so we have our blank script here. There's a few ways you could figure out what to do. My most suggested way is to go ahead and read the documentation. Another thing you could do is go to the face controller script and look for those public methods to see what your options are. We could also just grab a reference to that script and let Visual Studio make suggestions for me to see what I could do. I'm not going to use update for this example, so I'm going to get rid of that. I am going to do something in awake though, so private void awake. And I do also want to set up my cache here. So I'm going to say face controller, just going to call it controller. And then here in awake, I'm going to say controller equals get component face controller. Since the example script is on the same character that has the face controller script, we can just git component with no problems at all. Now that we've cached a reference to that script, I want to point something that's important. Up here it says using OBM. That's the namespace that I used for all of the code. So we have a reference to the face controller. Let's see what some of our options are. If I come here and put face controller dot, I get a bunch of suggestions. Some of these are useful, some of them are not. Like broadcast message and cancel invoke, I don't really need. But really, if I keep going down here, I can see we have play group, play one shot, set face feature, start loop, and there's also a stop loop. These are the methods that we can really use. I want to start a loop. I could just click on that right there, or I could go ahead and put start loop and put my parentheses, and we can see start loop is asking for something of type loop. We could put a loop in the face controller, which is what I suggest, and then just access the face controller for that loop. But a much easier way, if you're not sure how to do that, is to just make a field for a loop that we want. So I'm going to come up here to the top, and I'm going to make a public field. You can also do serialized field if you want. And we're going to put it of type loop, and I'm going to call it start loop. Here, I can just copy and paste that right there and put my colon. This will get rid of all of our errors. I can go ahead and save that, and I can minimize this. Now, if I press play, we're going to get an error. Let's press play and see what happens. Yeah, there we go, because I'm telling it to play an animation, and I gave it a loop, but I never actually populated that loop. So right here in my example script, you can see start loop, and then it's empty. Well, I can click on this circle. Oh, and look, I have blink and talk already ready for me. Let's do blink. Now when I press play, there we go. We are blinking. The code part, if you don't know anything about coding, can be a little bit scary, but if you just push through a little bit, you'll find that it's actually pretty easy to deal with. The hardest part of all this was knowing how to set it up. But once I set it up, all I had to do was write really one line of code, start loop, and then put the loop that I want. Let's say you don't want a loop though. Let's just say we want one animation to play and the face stays like that. Well, I can get rid of all this again, do my little dot, and come here and read. We have play group, we have play one shot. Those could be good. Let's try play one shot. Put my parentheses there. And then this time, it doesn't want a loop. It wants something of type one shot. So I'm going to do the same thing I did before up here. Public one shot. Just call this, I'm just going to call it one shot. And I can copy and paste that in. Make sure I put my semicolon. Now we're almost ready to go. If I press play now, just like before, we're going to get an error. Let's just do it just to test it out. Not doing any while loops, so we're not going to crash it. Object reference not set to an instance of an object. This almost always means we forgot to put something in a field. Let's do that now. One shot. We can click here to see what options we have. And already there's quite a bit made for you. I'm going to come down here and do smile. So I'm just going to double click on that. And now when I press play, let's see what happens. Now that looked kind of funny, right? Remember that the starting face we had was the happy face, which means the character was already had a smile on. So if we want that to transition properly, we have to make sure things are set up for that. I'm going to come back up here to my happy face and I'm going to put none. That way the character starts the game with that very neutral face and can transition into a smile better. All right, that was much better. Now, you're seeing an error here in my screen. Don't worry, that is because of the way I have my Unity interface. For whatever reason, there's a string somewhere in Unity's editor thing that bugs out and I get that error. But let's say we really want to keep that smile that we had at the start. I'm going to Control Z to bring my happy face back. I'm going to come back to the example and come to one shot. And I could put smile reverse. Now when I press play, We're going to start with a smile and go to a neutral face. So we start with a smile and go to a neutral face. These are one-shots. They play a little animation, and then they stay there. What if I don't want to loop, but I want more than just a one-shot? That's where groups come in. I'm going to go back to my code, and we already know I'm going to have to cache a reference to something. So let's put public group, and then, yeah, let's just call it group. It doesn't really matter. Then here, instead of play one shot, let's get rid of that. And we're going to put play group, my parentheses, and I already have my reference ready. So there we go. I'm going to save that. And this works the same way that we did loops, the same way that we did one shots. I just come over to my field, click on the button. There are my options. If I look carefully here, it says browse from happy and browse from sad. I've set these two groups up to start from a certain face, from the happy face or the sad face. So our character starts with a happy face. Let's do browse from happy. Let's press play and see how a group works. And the group is going to go through all the one-shot animations inside of it. As you can see here, is demoing the eyebrow animations that come with the project, and then it's set to go back to happy, and then it stays there. A group is like a one-shot made up of a bunch of one-shots. And a reminder, please ignore this error. This is a Unity bug. Okay, let's press stop. So we've seen the group in action. Let's take a look at the group itself. Click on it, click on it. We have one-shots and we have delays. A delay happens first, and then an animation happens. So it waits 1 second, and then browse, raise, reverse. So we're going from happy, where the eyebrows are up, browse, raise, reverse is going to bring the eyebrows to neutral. And then we have browse in, and then reverse it. Lower, reverse it. Out, reverse it. Now, if I knew that every time I played a one shot, I wanted it to go in reverse, I don't have to go have forward, reverse, forward, reverse. I can make a one shot that has forward and reverse built in. When preparing animations, it's really good to take a look at the sprite map. You can make your own sprite map with your own animations if you know how, and that's what I want you to do. But I've created my own little set of faces and animations here for just getting started. If you take a look at these colored lines, they indicate where an animation is. If the line is solid all the way through, that is an animation. And I tried to squeeze in as much as I could here. We have brow animations, eye animations, mouth animations, but no nose animations. I just made a few there just cuz. Let me show you how we can make a one shot. Right now, if you look at the project folder, we have reverse and we have forward. That level of modularity is probably not always necessary. So let's make a one shot that goes forward and backwards. I'm going to click on my folder, right click it, create, basic models, one shot. Going to call it OBM, browse in and reverse. So this is going to go forward and backward. We have our animation speed, which is already set to 0.05, which is what I suggest. And then we have an empty array of features. So how do I know what to put? I come over to the sprite map and take a look. Anywhere you see a solid through line, that's an animation. Orange is brows, blue is eyes, red is mouth. There is also green, but you see how the green lines are broken? That's because there's no animations. Well, right now I'm talking about eyebrows, and specifically in and reverse. So this is up, this is wink, this is wink, this is in. The eyebrows from the inside are going in. If I follow the orange line, I can see it ends at 19, 18, 17, 16, and then it goes up to 0. So forward would be 0, 16, 17, 18, 19, and then reverse would be 19, 18, 17, 16, 0. So that's exactly what I'm going to do here. I'm going to put plus, and then I'm going to click the little circle, type in browse, 0, okay, and then I'm going to add a new element, click the little tab, and put the next one, browse 16, And then I keep doing this. The next one, browse 17. Again, browse 18. Oops, I typed something in wrong here. Browse 18. Browse 19. Now, this would be the last frame in the animation, but I want to go backwards as well. I like to copy the starting and end frames. So I'm going to press plus to get a copy of 19. And then I'm going to come here and change this to browse 18. And now we're just going to count down. Browse 17. Browse 16. And then we're not 15, we're going to go end it at browse 0. So this is going to return to where it started. We start at 0, we go to 19, and we come back to 0. This gives us a 10 frame animation. Let's come back to our example script, change this one shot to browse in and reverse right there. But I did modify my code, so let's go back and I'm just going to comment this out, and we're going to put controller.play one shot, and then we can put the same reference that we had before. Save that. Minimize. And now we're going to press play. You're going to see that this is kind of how the groups work, but the groups give you just so much more modularity, which is why I like to use separate forward and reverse one shots. But let's press play. Whoop. We saw that it started in happy face, and then it played the animation to go in, and then it went back to reverse to go to a neutral face. All right, so that's pretty much it. This asset takes a little bit of time to set up, but once you've got it set up, everything is just sort of right at your fingertips, really easy to get to. Again, a deep felt thank you for your interest in this asset and my work. I hope you found this tutorial helpful, and yeah, I think that's it. See you next time.